everybody? It's Dave here from Vikings First and SKOL, and this is Two Old Bloggers. But Darren isn't here today. Darren is down in Mexico sunning himself, along with Tyler. They're at two different locations, and hopefully they get to see each other and wave, but I doubt it. Now, today we're going to get controversial. And you're saying, oh, Dave, getting controversial? No way. And the answer is yes. Today is the day. Hey, when I get to run the place, I get to make the decisions, right? I want to welcome everybody that's here from SKOL Mafia, Raymond, Northfius. We have who else? Doc is in the house. We have Peter, Dan, Jason. Welcome to the show. Now, today, I called this one Combine Countdown and Vikings Critical QB Decisions. Now, let's start off. As of February 23rd, let me look at my watch. That's today. There has been no official, definitive statement explicitly saying that the Vikings will not franchise tag Sam Darnold. However, there have been reports from various reports from all over, indications from various sources. For instance, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler saying, hey, not the likeliest path, unquote, citing the high cost around $40 million and the team's reluctance to, quote, mortgage the future. Boy, does that sound familiar. And we'll get to what that means for Sam Darnold and Mr. Stafford. I know, it's frustrating, but it's what people have been talking about, so we're going to talk about that in the first theme. I'm going to give you the odds of what they're planning on doing. And then we're going to get into this week in Vikings land with some news bits. One's going to be Kwesi's extension. Are we going to hear this week? Possibly not. We'll find out. There's a couple others in there. I'm going to leave one that's really going to get you going. And then we're going to do a combine primer. Why? Because the combine is starting this week. Yes, the NFL scouting combine is this week in Indianapolis. So get ready, grab your favorite beverage, and let's rock. Let's rock. Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers. And I'm back. And it's just me because Darren's on vacation down in Mexico on the beach. Good for him. Well, you get me, and I tend to go a little bit off script. When that happens, we get to chat some more, which is great. I see that Mr. Rapp is in the building. Thankfully, that is the case because I love talking with Rapp. And there's a few things on the schedule that he'll be interested in. Thank you, Mafia. Appreciate that very, very, very much. And I see that Drewster's in the building. Boy, Drew, I'm about to stir up the pot today. Let's get started with theme one. On this one, if I can bring it up real quick. Oop, wrong one. Here we go. Sam's fate. We all think we know it, right? But nothing has been definitively put out there to us. And the whole world, the internet in particular, but the whole Vikings blogosphere and the NFL reporting staff are not convinced it's decided yet. We all know that Sam started out, had 14 wins, and then, of course, we lost in the wild card to the Rams. Now, we've discussed this topic ad nauseum, but I think it's helpful to lay out an options based on the current reporting given the passionate fans and their various positions. Now, what's the positions? There's one called the upshot option. I'm seeing all across the land. To sign an extension that the Minnesota Vikings want him back. This is where Tyler, immediately after the season, was advocating and saying, Darnold is the QB we were hoping for with J.J. McCarthy. That J.J. could be. We've already got him. Well. Now, Tyler's come around a little bit. I think he's been a little browbeaten by Ma or whomever, but I'm not sure that's where we need to go. This would be like signing Kirk Cousins to a $40 million deal and, would impact the future. The roster holes now and in the future. Could it be done? Oh, yes, it could be done. They could work around the cap and still get the offensive lineman we want and get a defensive cornerback, et cetera, et cetera. But it would catch up with us, and would it be worth it? That is the question. That's option one, the upstart option. He played so well, bring him back. See what he can do in year 2 under Kevin O'Connell. Well, we'll have to see. Now, we get into option 2. Tag and trade Mr. Darnold. Yes. Should we tag and trade Mr. Darnold to get assets for him now? Most likely, as in draft picks, but to a lesser extent, possibility of players. I like to think of Myles Garrett and the Browns. What a dream that would be. Hey, tag, trade, swap contracts, or whatever it is. Cool. I'm all right with that. But that's unrealistic. I may dream of that. I may have fantasies over it, but it's probably not going to happen. And then the third option, the most likely option, let Sam walk and we gather that 2026 third round compensatory pick. Yep, could be. That's what I feel most likely will happen. But the decision has not been made yet. This is decision week. The NFL Combine, when the teams are going to get together and they're going to gather information about themselves, about players, the whole works. So we're going to find out. Now, franchise tag dynamics. Multiple sources peg the franchise tag at $41.3 million-ish. Also saw OTC upped it to 42 point something. I don't know. They were originally the 41.325, whatever it was. But the number's relatively irrelevant. Are we going to pay that much? I don't know. But there are people that are advocating for it. Should Sam Darnold stay? Do the upshot option? Well, Cris Carter thinks so. That's right, Cris Carter. He was on the show Up and Adams talking with Kay Adams. Now, I love me some Kay Adams. Drew can attest that Dave loves himself some Kay Adams. But he said, and I quote, it's a lot of money and it's several good players that you could allocate the money for. But I think the best option at the beginning, from a football business standpoint, you can't just let him leave out the door, having a spectacular season, and let someone else sign him, Carter said. The only way you're going to be able to trade him is to franchise him. So I would keep him on the roster. Now, there's a lot of quarterbacks that we put in this status. I'm not saying that he's Matthew Stafford. I'm not saying that he's Jared Goff. But we always put quarterbacks that struggle a little bit. Oh, now can they get to the playoffs? We ask always to move the goal line marker on them. That was an amazing season. I agree, it was an amazing season. It was an amazing season for Goff. It was an amazing season for Stafford as well. But did any one of those three make the Super Bowl this year? No. Not at all. Well, let's get into it more. What's Darnold's market? His career high stats and thin QB market position him as the top free agent in football right now. That's what it is. He is. I don't disagree with that one little bit. He's the top. Now, he was scheduled to make around $50+ million a year up until the late season collapse, where he had 54% pressure rate versus the Rams, and that was horrible, and 9 sacks. Well, that cost him money. Now the league figures he'll make about 35 to 41 million annually. Okay, that's still a lot of money, but that's about right. Middle of the road type quarterback. Could be a starter somewhere, but just not here. We're at a crossroads. The Vikings' decision hinges on balancing Darnold's proven 2024 output and McCarthy's cost control potential. Letting Darnold walk risks losing a known commodity, but keeping him via tag or extension could mortgage the future. Hey, where have we heard that before? Now, I doubt they're going to keep him and mortgage the future on it. We have a quarterback in the waiting. His name is J.J. McCarthy, as you all know I love to say. And J.J. will be ready for OTAs. Now, everybody's worried about his knee and such. Well, he'll be just fine. But we'll find out. Now, hey, there's Daniel Jones rumors out there too. What happens with Daniel Jones affects the Vikings QB room. Will Daniel Jones resign with the Vikings, adding a complexity to the whole, will Darnold resign future that ties into roster flexibility and team's quarterback planning? I think Darnold's gone, so why does it make a lick of sense? The Vikings will not commit heavily on Darnold if other options like Jones or McCarthy are viable. Well, I think J.J. McCarthy is viable. And Daniel Jones, whether he signs elsewhere, which is quite the possibility, or he comes back to back up J.J. McCarthy, I don't think it plays into the Sam Darnold decision. Hey, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. Many times. But we'll see. Now, Darnold's fate. And this will be decided this week. It's decision week. People are going to find out what happens this week, and plans will be firmed up at the combine. Pardon me. Need to wet my whistle. Now, Anthony says, rumors are few teams want Daniel Jones. Yes. And there's rumors that teams want Sam Darnold as well. Well, We'll find out. Now, Darnold's fate. Franchise talks open since February 18th. The team can franchise him at a little bit more than $41 million a year. Sources suggest a tag and trade, i.e. like The Athletic reported, over keeping him and giving McCarthy's $5 million cap hit. Coach O'Connell says, quote, it's an ongoing dialogue, as reported on ESPN this week. Well, we'll see. Trade buzz, there is some. We'll see. Brian, it's rye, whiskey, or bourbon, however we want to call it. But it's rye. Mile High Rye. Now, trade buzz is the Raiders with $95 million in cap, Giants with the number 3 pick, and Titans with the number 1 pick are linked, per FanDuel. That's interesting. And ESPN also reported the same. Indy conversations might firm up, i.e., a third rounder from Pittsburgh, as reported on February 11th on NFL.com. Well, that would be something. Third rounder this year versus third rounder next year. I'd take that if we could make it work. With a weak QB market, CBS reporting, boosting Darnold's value despite his 9-sack Rams game. And, of course, the meltdown in the Lions game as well. We'll see. Anthony says, you tag Darnold or Byron Murphy? I'd probably neither get tagged, tell you the truth, Anthony. But we'll see. Now, what's McCarthy's role? The Vikings see J.J. McCarthy as the QB1. As reported in The Athletics, and by me, I've been a proponent of that for a long time. So is Mr. Rapp. Rapp's in the building. He will agree to that. But what everybody's worried about is his rehab timeline. Oh, he had a meniscus and 2 surgeries. Well, 1 surgery and a clean-out. He's ready. He's been working now. He's ahead of schedule. So, with few picks, i.e. we have 4, Darnold can net a second or a third, as reported, on roster shifts. Indy's informal talks might explore flipping the number 24 for more day 2 selections. We'll see if it involves Darnold or if it doesn't even. Free agency priorities, Jones' contract void date was pushed back. That's Aaron Jones. And with that, we've got to try and keep him as well. If they decide to, we will see. Let's see. O'Connell's crew balancing scouting values and picks with Darnold trade chatter. Are they going to balance the both? Oh, of course they are, because they got more than one person doing it. It's going to be interesting to see how they leverage the cap at $63 million-ish against limited picks. 4. Behind the scenes, Combine is Darnold's decision week. We tag him for trade leverage, or at least let him test free agency. We'll see. Current odds. Yes, I looked up the odds. Now, there aren't exactly odds out there via FanDuel or DraftKings, but I used Grok to infer them. Tagging and trading Sam Darnold implies a probability of 35 to 45%. Rationale, expert sentiment, suggests a tag and trade is a viable option to recoup the value rather than losing Darnold for nothing, other than that 2026 third-round compensatory pick. especially with McCarthy's rookie contract, $5 million cap hit versus Darnold's $41 million tag. ESPN notes that it's an expensive but feasible way to long-term commitment while leveraging trade interest. Well, I don't see it happening, but it's possible. 35 to 45%. Market demand, a thin 2025 QB free agency. Darnold's at the top. And a draft class, only Sanders and Ward as first rounders per SI. Not that I agree with that. I don't think they're going to be good, but we'll find out. Boost his trade values. Teams like, let me get that slide back. It's difficult doing this all by myself, but anyways, we'll do, there's the trade tag and trade, but teams like, oh, and I lost my place. There are teams like the Raiders. You have the Giants. You have the Steelers. There are a half dozen teams that are quarterback needy. He could go if Stafford leaves LA, that may be the perfect fit for him. We know the Browns need a quarterback. There are tons of teams that could use him. But we'll find out. Is there historic precedence over this? Yes, there is. Back in 2009, Matt Castle trade. Patriots to the Chiefs for a second rounder. And recent tag and trades include, not quarterback, but Chiefs L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans in 2024. They're pointed to as realistic. Market demand, we just talked about. Raiders, Giants, Titans, all linked. Reported on The Athletic. We have a rising salary cap, which is great. That could cover something in a future trade. Yes, Anthony, Jets is possible. But we'll see. Counterpoint, Sam Darnold's late season flop. He had just a 66.4 passer rating in his final two games. That dips his value to a third or fourth rounder. Well, if we get it this year, we would at least want a fourth. That would be equivalent to next year's third, but I'd want at least more than that. Now, but it's all who's envisioning it. I've seen as high as a second. I've seen as high as low as a fourth. I've seen multiple picks, a third this year and a sixth next year type deal. All sorts of things. Now, we go to, find the next slide. We have letting him hit free agency, letting him walk. The probability comes at 55 to 65%. This is the majority of folks. Rationale, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, as I discussed before, says it's unlikely to meet Darnold's high asking price. McCarthy's cost control contract plays into it. Diana Rossini from The Athletic also suggests they'll let him walk and pivot to McCarthy, Daniel Jones, with 85% of fans polled agreeing, as per my buddy Chris Gates, Daily Norseman. The team strategy, Vikings long-term plan, drafting J.J. McCarthy 10th overall last year, prioritizes his $18 million four-year deal over Darnold's $100 to $160 million extension. O'Connell's comment, praised Darnold, but did not commit to him. Yes, so we'll see. Fan analysis, show a near even split. 50.9 want to let him walk to 49.1 to keep. That tells you where Vikings Twitter's at. But the let him leave voice dominates. 48% let to walk, 37% tag and trade per Daily Norseman. Vikings territory warns a misdirection but leans towards free agency as the most realistic route. I agree there. This could be a misdirection by the Vikings to pump up his value. We'll see. That would be actually a good move to get the most out of him that you can if there is a market for it. That's what this week's for, when everybody's in Indy. Not that they're going to be tampering it all. Counterpoint is Darnold's 14 wins. Hey, it's a great year. So we'll find out. Letting him go post McCarthy's injury. Oh no, he's injury prone. Bullshit. They think it as a insurance policy. Keep him. And if he fails, let J.J. McCarthy play. Well, no, that's not why we drafted J.J. McCarthy. In summary, letting Darnold hit free agency is a slight favorite over tagging and trading. But there is one other option. Tagging and keeping. I put this as probably less than 10% just because I say I got to give it out there. That say the Wilfs go, nah, Sam was too good. We want to keep the Wilfs. Or we want to keep Sam. I don't see it. But Dave, what if you tag Sam? Then they can't trade him. Oops. I still believe they could. Drew, I don't think it's off the table. I don't think it's off the table at all. They voided his contract. That doesn't mean anything other than that dead space hits now. But like I said, I think the Vikings are going to roll with J.J. McCarthy. And that will be that. We should find out or hear at least a little bit this week. So, as Nick says, it's got to be essentially a handshake deal with another team. Yeah, it's got to be. And you hope if there's more than one team, they start a bidding war. And that you can fleece somebody. But has Kwesi done that yet? I'm not quite so sure. We'll find out. And that brings us to theme 2. Brian says, build up the Flores defense. I'm cool with that too there, buddy. This week in Vikings land. Now, I asked just a minute ago, has Kwesi ever fleeced anybody that we know of so far? It's going to be interesting. Can you think of one? I'm old. I'd kill brain cells with whiskey. I don't remember one. But let's find out. We're going to start off with Kwesi's contract situation. Status as of today. Kwesi is in the final year of his initial 4-year contract as the Vikings GM. It's set to expire after the 2025 season. Extension talks were reported by Tom Pelissero back in January that conversations were underway. Kwesi was supposedly going to be matched up with Kevin O'Connell on their multi-year extension. And it came out yesterday. Kevin O'Connell's is a 4-year extension, which puts him as our head coach, if all goes well, through the 2029 season, and we won't have to worry about it until, 2029, when they give him another extension, because he's won the Super Bowl 3 times. I hope. At that point, give him an extension for life, but we'll see. Ian Rappaport noted these talks are likely to keep up with O'Connell as well. Timing speculation. Well, we had Benjamin Albright on one of my former shows that I used to produce, Vikings Happy Hour this week. And he talked about how the Vikings might wait until after the 2025 draft is finalized to give him the extension, assessing how he handled the offseason, including the draft, with only 4 picks. What does that matter? He drafts 4 guys. We don't know how they're going to turn out, do we? Mr. Albright's opinion is his own, not mine, but we'll see. Now, Kwesi himself said he didn't feel entitled to anything and prefers to keep the extension talk between him and the Wilfs private. Hey, Tony, good to see you here. But we'll see. We'll see. Will Mark, who said we'll look at it after the 2024 season, per Chip Scoggins, has he changed his mind? No, it's after the 2024 season. So we'll find out. Now, are there any concerns about a delay? Vikings Age reported on February 19th, the question of delay suggests a possible hesitation over his drafting record, though it endorsed an extension overall. Well, we know his drafting record, and we'll get into that here just shortly. Brian says he likes the Kwesi and O'Connell partnership. I do too, very much. I'm not worried about it at this point in time. Now, did he have problems drafting? Yeah. Especially that first one. That first one was horrible. We had what? Criticisms. We had Lewis Cine, Andrew Booth Jr., enough said. Then we got Jordan Addison. There's also J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner, who we're expecting to be decent. But a bunch of fans are impatient with the delay. Don't blame them, but we'll see. Overall mood after the 14-2 season boosts the confidence of Adofo-Mensah through the NFC playoffs to one and dones. And draft critiques temper some of the enthusiasm. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think he's going to get the extension. I'm curious what you all think. But we'll find out. Tony asks, how much is Grigson in this convo? I didn't bring him up. It's not reported, Tony. You know as well as I do, there's a bunch of behind-the-scenes things that happen. How much control does Kwesi now have versus the very beginning? Who knows? Will he take more control, or are these people still running the show? I hope they give him free rein, either to succeed or to hang himself. One or the other. but not to mess with him, because then you're failing and he gets the blame, and that's wrong. Drew says fans are impatient. What? Never heard that. No, we've never been impatient. We want to win a Super Bowl before we die, as Score North says. But hey, it is what it is. Freddie says Mel Kiper's latest mock draft has Vikings taking Benjamin Morrison, quarterback, Notre Dame. That's nice, Freddie. We're not talking about the draft at the moment. We're talking about Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and his extension. Now, a lot of times it's announced relatively before they get on stage at the Combine. That's going to happen this week. So are we going to hear it this week? Interesting. No idea. Now, moving on to the next topic in This Week in Vikings Land. We're the best. Yes. We may not win the Super Bowl, but we are the best fan day experience in the NFL. All 32 teams came out, they voted, and Minnesota Vikings, your Minnesota Vikings, ranked number 1. Tony's, you're hearing it's all by committee approach. No one person has the power. And as we know, that can mess things up. Now, they ranked number 1 for U.S. For overall game day satisfaction with record-breaking scores. Finished first in game entertainment, ranked second in game day staff performance, placed top 10 out of 8 of 9 primary categories. Hey, go Vikings! Now, we know the game day entertainment is excellent, especially the hype videos at the beginning of the game, where they show the windy tundra of Old Met Stadium, and you get the deep voice talking about the purple people eaters and how they go about, and then they meld through the years to get to today's players. I think it's absolutely fantastic. They have strong performance in audio, prompts, and music, number 2. Crowd energy, number 3. That's not bad for a crowd, considering the previous year we were pretty sucky. Well, that's what winning does. We'll see. Had to wet the whistle again. Now, game day staff performance, across the board, number 2. Hey, that's awesome. Strong ratings on food and beverage. However, I hear that can be improved. Guest service, parking lot staff ranked number 3. Yay! And for game day entertainment, I will always take the Vikings cheerleaders. But you have everything from frisbee throwing to corgi races to actual music being played. So we shall see. Now, as far as food, we have our very own Sal Spice, who went and checked out the new food for this last season. And some of it was pretty good, she said. We'll see. Now, what I highly recommend you do if you want to learn more about the game day experience is go watch Sal's last show. She had on Vikings Guy. Yeah, that's his name. That's his name of his YouTube channel and TikTok and everywhere else you can find him. Well, he's one of the oldest employees, or one of the longtime employees at U.S. Bank Stadium. And he told us some behind-the-scenes stuff. One is like how the Wilfs are spending tens of millions of dollars to upgrade Wi-Fi this year. Out of their pocket, not the Metropolitan Sports Association, whoever it is that owns the stadium, their pocket. They're making it better. They have never not been available to pay for it. But there's some cool stuff in this show. It's a different show. It's not me talking about my opinion. It's a lifestyle show, but it's pretty cool. If you have not seen Sal's show, go check out this last one from last week. It was outstanding. So we'll see. Now that brings us to the final topic in this week's news. Chris Kluwe was arrested. Now, Chris Kluwe obviously was a punter for the Minnesota Vikings from 2005 to 2013. He was an outspoken punter for this team. Strong advocate for LGBTQ, etc. Stuff. But if you go back to Daily Norseman and the Time Machine back approximately 2014, you'll find out he's a little bit of a hypocrite. Well. That's Chris Kluwe. Well, we know he's been active, an activist. Well, he's, I guess, got tired of not being seen, so he's got back out there again. And he's protesting this time. Where? Why? He went to the Huntington Beach, where he's a resident of, their meeting, town council meeting, and protest over a library pack that used words that spelled out MAGA. Magical, alluring, galvanizing, adventurous. Now, during the discussion, Kluwe called MAGA profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democratic, and most importantly, explicitly a Nazi movement, and announced he would engage in civil disobedience, upon which he was arrested. He was released after 4 hours. Now, little did he know that the whole policy included three themes from the last three different presidents, including Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump. It was not meant. He's flipping out because he wants to be back in the news, and for all the wrong reasons. But, hey, no matter whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. To me, it shows a selfishness that he's always possessed to get himself out there. Now, he can protest all he wants. It's his right. But for me, why? Why? I know why, but hey, it is what it is. I don't care how you believe. I care whether you're a good person and whether you love the Minnesota Vikings. It's all that matters. But because he belonged to us for the majority of his career, the Vikings get their name smeared again. That's what I really don't like to see. It's my editorial opinion, not reflective of Vikings First and SKOL. Now, on to theme 3. Here we go. Here we're going to get into a primer for the NFL Scouting Combine, which starts this week, actually today, for early arrivals. Now, the Scouting Combine will be run from February 24th officially through March 3rd at Lucas Oil Stadium, where it's always been. Here are the detailed breakdowns on how it's going. We have a total of 329 players of, quote, top college football prospects that were announced on February 13th that they will showcase their skills this week and get ready for the NFL draft. And at the end of April in Green Bay, Wisconsin, sponsored by Bud Light. Makes perfect sense for Green Bay. Now, like I said, today's the arrival for the early ones, but most of them start arriving tomorrow. And they start to go through this airport. This airport is the Indianapolis International Airport. I've been through it a handful of times. It's a very, very nice airport. Players arrive in waves by position group starting tomorrow. They will undergo registration, medical pre-exams, x-rays, orientations. This is a logistical setup to get everything going. They will have interviews, and it's a job interview. This is just a stock photo. It's not of a team, but they'll interview with the teams. They get 15 minutes interviews with the team scheduled across multiple days. These are high-pressured sessions where teams probe their football IQ, personality, and off-field history, sometimes with oddball questions and test reactions. Example, the infamous Des Bryant incident in 2010. I had to look that one up. Now, medical examinations also will start, as well as testing. And by testing, that's cognitive and personality driven. You have medical testing. Here, another stock photo. All three of these are stock photos of a VO2 max, which is how well your body utilizes oxygen. This can last up to 10 hours a day, often starting at 7 a.m., with results shared across all 32 teams. And there are representatives from all 32 teams. Then we get into the on-field workouts, right? What we all see on TV. They're going to start Thursday with drills airing live on NFL Network. They include defensive linemen and linebackers doing a 40-yard dash and bench press. Now, I got an old lineman from last year, but watching the big round bellies run 40-yard dashes to me is idiotic, but okay. I can understand D linemen more than O linemen, but we'll see. And then Friday, defensive backs, tight ends. Saturday, quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. Expect the big crowds because they want to see Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. And we'll get into tests like bench press. Pardon me, these two Bubbas. But there are also players that bow out, like Caleb Williams did last year. Now, Tony asked question, is the combine location set in stone for the next few years? If not, why does not the city of Minneapolis host the combine? It's a great question. It has been set in stone because of the logistics about it. You need to have the medical stuff ready and on site to go, and all the accompanying room and space and stuff. They use a convention center that's right next to the stadium that people can be run through and processed through. And then you have to have all the rooms for the interviews, and they get run through all that sort of stuff. Could they do it? Yes. But from what I gather, the Mayo Clinic, obviously, which has the equipment and all the stuff necessary to test all these players, might have to move it closer to U.S. Bank Stadium. Once a city develops that, I know the NFL is talking about possibly rotating it between cities. We'll find out. I hope they do. I want Minnesota to have a chance at it. I think it'd be great, Tony. Great question. Drew said he failed the Wonderlic, but ace the San Diego. Hey, a good one, Drew. Good one. And Northfield says, yes, India is not perfectly centralized. It's not that it's centralized, it's that it has all the facilities right there, and they've been doing it for a while. It's all set. Dan says, Tony, India's set up with medical up well in interview rooms, various blah, blah, blah. Yes, I agree. But could Minnesota duplicate that? Yes, they could. Contract with Mayo to set up, some outdoor buildings or whatever it is, and let's rock and roll. It's not that far. I'm sure there's buildings, that surround U.S. Bank. They could double. They could be rented out for the week. We'll find out. But we'll see. Now, drills include 40-yard dash, yada, yada. Xavier Worthy's 4.21 40 last year will be record looms large. Let's see if anybody breaks it. There's the broad jump, the 20-yard shuffle, the 3-cone drill, and position-specific drills, i.e. quarterback throwing sessions. You got the triple cone for the linemen and the hula hoop stuff that are more important. The broad, I mentioned the broad jump, but you got, how high you can jump, all that sort of stuff. And there's all the measurements as well. Measuring arm length, hand size, all that sort of stuff. And it's important. That's how the teams start to rack and stack. Now, that's a good thing. Now, then we get to media sessions. We're going to start off with head coach and GM. Ours is Tuesday, the 25th. Kevin O'Connell fires it off at 11:30 Central, followed 15 minutes later by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Position groups face the press each day, offering their insights into their mindsets. Top QBs like Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward will draw heavy attention, as will versatile prospects like Travis Hunter. Anybody like that is obviously going to draw a bigger press response. Now, Tyler warned this week that be advised when it comes to Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell, they're going to get asked questions from the press that's outside of Minnesota generally. However, they are going to pull all those Minnesota beat writers, and they'll have their own closed session where we'll get more specific answers, hopefully. But we'll find out. Now, what is all this for? It's a massive job interview for the players. They're trying to get into the NFL. They're trying to complete their dream. Now, it's a 4-day job interview. People call it exhausting. And knowing that a single drill or answer can shift your draft stock and move you up and down on a draft board. Now, this is a previous one from a few years back, and it's not an official Vikings draft board. The teams like to keep their draft board secret unless they show them on draft day when the cameras turn on. What idiots. But they like to do that. And it could shift a player going up who was thought to be second round into the first round, or first round drops to the fourth round, or whatever it is. Maybe they pop a bad drug test. Depends what the drugs is now. It's not like 20, 30 years ago when if it was marijuana, you get popped. But if it's HGH or some other things, it's going to pop. So we'll see. All 32 teams are there. All their scouts, their medical staff, hundreds of personnel evaluating prospects and strategize. Now, player assessments. Scouts will finalize their final measurements. Compare that with game tape live, medical data, red flags of all sorts, can alter plans. Interviews help the team assess fit. Vikings might grill QBs like Shedeur Sanders to see if he's a McCarthy compliment. No, they're not. This is reported by somebody, but it's bullshit. Will they interview Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward? Oh, yes, they will. Why? Because two reasons. One, KOC wants to. He loves his quarterbacks. But he's doing it to understand them so he can better defeat them in the future. But we'll see. They do the draft board refinement after the week. They'll compare all their notes and all their players. And like I said, they'll go back to film. They'll say, hey, this guy produced a whole lot better. Let's go see why we didn't see that in the film. Or this guy did a lot worse. Wait a minute, we thought he was going to be good. And they'll go back and look. Maybe it is. We talked about GPS data, the sensors in him. He runs a 4.5 40 for a cornerback, but yet on the field he runs 22 miles an hour. Wait a minute. What you going to go with? So, hey, it is what it is. And then there's the biggest portion, and probably the most important portion, the networking and intel. GMs and coaches mingle, gauging rival interest in prospects and trade assets. Sam Darnold as one. The Combine's informal setting, hotel lobbies, bars, etc., foster deal groundwork, as reported by The Athletic. And as we all know, you will see there that once the legal tampering period opens up on March 10th, suddenly Team A has agreed to terms with player X. They're just waiting to sign it on March 12th. Yeah, sure. It was all done in Indy. But we'll see. Yes, Tony is 100% correct. Trade rumors pick up at the Combine. Yes, they do. Think the Browns and Myles Garrett. What's going to happen there? Browns have already said, we're not going to trade you. He wants to trade badly. How's that going to end? I bet he gets traded. Question is for what? Sam Darnold? We'll see. That's just me. He's not going to happen. That's a wet dream on my part. But we'll see. Now, the Combine doubles as a launch pad for offseason moves with free agency starting March 12th. Legal tampering starts March 10th. We're already in the illegal tampering period. Thank you, Kirk Cousins, last year for admitting that. Not that it got us anything. But, yes, Brian, agents are there as well. They are. You bet you they are. And they're buying coffee for everybody and whatever else. Agents and execs meet discreetly to discuss players like Sam Darnold, whose $41 million franchise tag is a hot topic. We'll see. Deals can't be signed until the 12th, like I said, and can't be officially announced till the 10th. You know, pending the 12th. But we'll see. Teams with cap space, like I went before, you got $95 million with the Raiders, Titans with 71.6. Now, I like Sam Darnold going to the Titans if they trade him. Why? Because they want to pick, I think it's that edge rusher out of Penn or Penn State, one of the two Pittsburgh ones that are Pennsylvania ones that's so hot, a blue chipper. There's supposedly only 3 blue chippers in this whole draft. He's one of them. But we'll see. Teams also discuss draft swaps. Hey, this is their preliminary. What would you want for pick number 24 if you're willing to move up? You see somebody you want to move up. What do you want? They lay the groundwork for that here. It all happens in Indy. It should be in Vegas because nothing that happens in Vegas leaves Vegas, right? But Anthony. Should we keep Sam Darnold? We'll find out. Also, some league business can be done as well, like any emergency rule changes or whatever. They're going to prep for it. They're going to have league meetings later, but they'll start to prepare. We'll see. Anthony says Abdul Carter should go number one. We'll see. But as we know, we have J.J. McCarthy. It is what it is. Northfield says he's like to order a spicy shrimp cocktail. They're all to rave about it. Freddie says Vikings had okay run blocking stats last year. Okay is the middle of the pack. We'll see. But we're going to see. Now, the combine schedule, I know you can't read it. It's too small. It's right there. You can find it over on CBS. They've got it linked. Tells you which players come which days. And we get to finish up, Tony, watching the O-line next Saturday. Can't wait. It's going to be fun. We get guys like this from the combine. And hopefully, this young man will lead us to the promised land. But we shall see. Well, folks, I want to thank you all for joining me today on this solo adventure as we talked Sam Darnold. Hopefully we hear something official out of this week. We talked about Kwesi and his extension possibility. We talked about Vikings being number one for game days. Chris Kluwe being an ass. And then we talked about the combine. I want to thank you all. Join us tomorrow night for the real 4-0. We've already pre-recorded this one because he's down on the beach in Mexico as well, getting sloshed. He's on a boat today in particular. Hopefully he doesn't fall off. Then we'll have a live with Sal Tuesday. And then we'll have another show probably towards the end of the week with Tyler. And then Darren will be back for the next 2 old bloggers again on Sunday, this time, 4 o'clock for the rest of the offseason until the season starts. With that, I want to say thank you for watching. You all have been great. And SKOL Vikings! Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Darren and Dave, thank you for watching this episode of 2 Old Bloggers. We look forward to seeing you on every show on the new Vikings First and SKOL. You can find our podcast as part of the Fans First Sports Network. Sports takes for the fan, from the fan. SKOL, everybody!